This episode of Baby, This is Keke Palmer is sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Now let's get this show on the road. I started out as a child star. People loved me. I had my own hit show. And then they didn't. It doesn't matter what you think, or you think. It's like Abbott and Costello, Magic and Karima. Woo!
We hanging out with Aaliyah. We hanging out with Usher.
Oh my
TLC. These are people that I literally was listening to on my Walkman because Nickelodeon was scared. They ain't never done a show like this before. Because me and Kenan got compared a lot.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, now wait a minute. You done
Baby,
said something. What does
Keke
that
Palmer.
mean? Hello, Shay Shay. How do you feel about Shannon Sharp taking your nickname? He's Club Shay Shay. You were supposed to be the real Club Shay Shay.
Hilarious.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk to Kel because I think there's this interesting thing that happens with child entertainers. And even if you're not an entertainer, you know, whether you are in sports or you're in the drama club or, you know, this whole child prodigy thing or what some might say peaking in high school. There's this thing that can happen to you as a kid when you're working in this industry and you age out of your success realm where you have to kind of figure out how to start from the bottom. You know, it's not the same thing as making it as an adult. Obviously, there's still ebbs and flows of popularity and success is not linear, but I do think it's a little bit more difficult when you are someone who, had it all or were promised it all and people kept saying, you have a bright future, and then you go through these changes as an adult on top of what are normal coming of age moments. So I'm looking forward to talk to him about that. And personally, I've gone through a lot of that myself.
Yeah. Is he from Chicago or Keenan?
I believe he is. I think Kenan was born in Chicago, but he grew up in Atlanta.
Wow.
And I think that Kel is, yes, from Chicago.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he was such a big part of your childhood. I remember you guys would be down in the basement watching all that and all that stuff. And he's such a great comedian. And then you guys had a chance to do your thing on Saturday Night Live.
Keenan and Kelly.
Anything with Keke Palmer's name on it, I'm there. No questions asked.
For real? Because I got this idea for a reboot.
A reboot? Of what?
Sit down on the couch and flip on that telly, getting wild as the style of Keenan and Kelly. I will blast some laughs when you come home from school, cause Keenan and Kelly gon' break all the rules. Keenan and Kelly!
That was hilarious. Yeah, so is this the first time that you're going to be talking to him? Or obviously you've met him, but this is the first time you're going to be interviewing him?
Yeah, this is the first interview that I've ever had with him. I mean, I've talked to Keenan before on the show, and that was a great time. But I didn't talk to Kel, and I think it's interesting to talk to Kel because a lot of times people was like, oh, he was my favorite. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that Kel was my favorite. Or, when Keenan, I remember talking to Keenan about this on his episode where he was saying that a lot of people were like, I don't even know how was Keenan or how did Keenan end up on SNL? Like, where's Kel at? He was my favorite. And just talking about how some of those opinions and stuff play into, again, your coming of age. Like, when you're doing a duo, everybody has a favorite. That's normal. But then also where your careers go after that are not always totally contingent upon your talent. A lot of other things go into that. It might be you didn't want to. One person took a break, somebody didn't. This person had dreams and aspiration of this, the other person didn't. And when you have success so early on, I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of like, what more do I have to prove? When it came to me performing and acting, was that ever something that worried you?
No, because you know what? We always did things because of the passion, right? We always picked roles because it resonated with us in some real way. But it's not as easy as people think.
When it came to me coming out of True Jackson VP, which was a very popular show, and I was very sought after when I was doing that show. And then afterwards, things kind of got quiet, and I was in that weird age where when you're 18, they don't actually want you to play 18. And then it's like some of the roles that you're offered are maybe too young. So it's just like this in-between phase. Right. What was kind of going through your mind as my manager in trying to see how to move forward with my career after that?
Well, I knew that the agency wasn't going to be much help because they were already saying things like, well, she should go to college, The career of a child entertainer is only 3 to 5 years, and she's had 8 years. So by golly, she's already beat the odds, and college wasn't a bad idea, but you had spent from the age of 9 with private tutors every day. Like, I don't think people get it with a child entertainer. There are very few vacations. We find the time we took vacations, but if you're the headliner of a show, then it's kind of hard to take the vacations. And even when you did get a break from the show, then you were doing something else. So that's a blessing and a curse all at the same time sometimes because of the time frame. But I just think that I talked to you. I remember having a conversation with you, and I said, look, you can go to Harvard. They're offering you an opportunity to go to Harvard, or you can keep working. And you said you wanted to keep working.
When the hell did Harvard offer? I don't know about that.
Yeah. I was talking to you with Courtney Vance. He was trying to hook it up. Courtney Vance, that's his alma mater. And then he called me and he says, they would love to have her. And I was talking to him about it. And then I told you, and you said, well, I would just rather go to school. See, I knew you probably wasn't going to remember this conversation, but we had it. And
I said I would rather go to school.
You said you would rather not. You said you would rather not go to school. You said you needed a break because you had been going to school nonstop. And you said you needed a break. That was just before we did TLC. Remember we did the TLC project?
I mean, I've just never really liked school. I don't remember being like, I needed a break. And Harvard, that sounds really serious.
Yeah, well, I get the timeline messed up. But anyway, just to get this out, Courtney Vance, who is an awesome man who's married to Angela Bassett, he contacted me and he said that he wanted to get you in Harvard, that he was part of the alumni committee, and that he was talking and he wanted to get you into Harvard. He knew you were graduating. And I said, okay, great.
I can tell you right now, I didn't have the GPA for Harvard. I'm looking a little bit more.
Well, you had the work history, so
UCLA, USC. That's a little bit more the vibe.
Well, they were interested in you. No, you can talk to Courtney the next time you see him. So you were a True Jackson, you were a Keela and the Bee, and those were great characters. Those were iconic characters, and people grew up with those characters. But if you want to keep being an entertainer and expanding and doing new things, you kind of got to blow those characters up to a certain extent. You have to do something totally different that people don't expect you to do, and then also just show us different side of you. So I just knew that's what we needed to do, and then that's when we found the Project Pimp, and we got it made, and that was, to me, the start of the industry seeing you in a different light. Them seeing that you had dimension and depth and that you were an intellectual when it came to acting and that you act well without lines. And it just showcased a whole nother side to Keke Palmer, the entertainer. And so after that, I did not worry because I knew that you could make it as an adult entertainer because you had the chops, as they say.
That's really ultimately what it is. When you work and you do things as a kid, you create this idea, you create a brand that you are going to always age out of. And once you age out of that, you have to redefine what kind of artist you want to be. And redefining what kind of artist you want to be comes from your experience and what you learn and what you're engaged in as a growing adult person. And so for me, I always only ever knew performing, and I always loved it. So the idea of walking away or going to Harvard, like you said, it just seemed too damn crazy because it just was not me. I did not know what that was. But I was excited at the idea of learning who I was as an artist at this age, what kind of stories I wanted to tell, and how I wanted to stretch myself, and the kind of experience that I wanted to have as an entertainer. I started out as a child star. People loved me. I had my own hit show. And then they didn't. And that happens in life. People, it's not about, didn't Janet Jackson have a song, What Have You Done For Me Lately?
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. So yeah. I had I don't know why people, as times change, their expectation on how people to view them should stay the same, because that's just not how people work, especially not in our industry. I don't care if you have an Academy Award. I don't care if you had the #1 movie in 1965. No one gives a fuck in 2024. It's sad. It's terrible. But that's the reality of our business. So it didn't matter that I was True Jackson VP or Keela and the Bee. It mattered about what I was doing today. And I've also seen my career outside of being a star. I saw my career, as a job, as a gig, so I need to make money. I need to be, be logical about this. I need to figure out how I can make my business a business again. It doesn't matter what you think, because I need to get my damn business off the ground. And for me, this is my strategy. My strategy is to go where the love is to go where the people are wanting to see my work. And I feel the same way that I feel to this day. I'm not gonna always be the hottest person around. There'll be another time that I'll have to breathe new life into my career. And I love having these conversations with other people that have experienced that, because there's nobody in the industry that has been around for 20 years and didn't have a moment where people decided it's not you anymore. They do this to everybody in every industry, especially as you get older. Ageism is a thing. I don't even if you're a kid, you a has-been at 18. I mean, they've done it to anybody in child entertainers have gone through it relentlessly. Miley Cyrus, Raven Simone, Kyla Pratt. I mean, they always are like, they used to be something until something new happens, and then everybody loves us again. That's just how the industry works.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me get into this conversation with Kel. You are so awesome.
Ditto.
Thanks. Some think that to be the best, you have to focus on one thing. That you can either be a singer or an actor, a podcaster or a TV show host. But anyone who has ever listened to this show knows that the best, the best, are giving everything. Myself included. And you know who else is giving you everything? That's our sponsor, BMW. BMW gives you power and control, style and confidence, luxury and speed. I mean, as long as I can remember, when I think about a car that screams luxury and cool, casual elegance, I'm thinking about a BMW. I mean, they're just so beautiful. But what good is style without substance? You know what I mean? I want a car that not only looks good, but really delivers from its features, from wireless phone charging to the absolutely massive curved display that'll keep you on track and entertained throughout your trip. There are so many things to love about a BMW beyond just how gorgeous it is. Whether it's power and luxury or capability and control, BMW has the ultimate vehicle just for you. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Baby, this is Keke. So today's guest is a true staple, okay, of the Nickelodeon network. Not only was he on the cast of all that, but he also got his very own spinoff of the show, which, I mean, everybody knows Keenan and Kel. It's like Abbott and Costello, Magic and Karima. Woo! You know exactly who I'm talking about. Kel Mitchell, welcome to Baby. This is Keke Palmer.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Come on now. You know I'm proud of you and everything you do. And I listen to the podcast, so thank you. Thank you for having me. This was up.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Kel. I mean, first of all, aside from you being a Virgo, which makes everything make sense, you also from Chicago. I mean, you are an icon. I literally grew up watching you, imitating you, just loving you. And so many people in our generation and entertainers of our generation, I mean, it's the same thing across the board. So, I mean, I don't even know if you can think about that or how you receive that, but it must feel good to just know that, you know, you've made this impact.
Man, every time I hear people say it, and people that I'm even fans of that tell me, you know, like I'm a fan of yours, you know what I mean? And so when people tell me that, it's awesome, and it feels like they've grown up with us too, and you know we're all family. You know, I call people that watched us, I call them family. So
yeah, for sure.
This is definitely dope to me, and to still be doing it, you know what I mean?
Yes, and exactly, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, because I think specifically for child stars, it's always a transition for us into adulthood. I mean, you know, so I want to ask you a little bit, like, first, let me actually go back. How did you get into performing?
Ooh, okay. So Chi-Town, let's go back. So south side of Chicago. I was definitely a class clown. I loved to just entertain. I didn't know about getting on TV. I didn't know anything about that. And I wasn't trying to be. My thing was I was trying to make everybody laugh. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was my thing. And so I would imitate everything that I saw on TV. Different comedians, Eddie Murphy,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, John Ritter, because I watched Three's
Oh my
Company.
gosh,
like,
John Ritter,
all the time,
John
and
Ritter.
I want to give him his
Iconic.
flowers, rest in peace. But,
Yes.
I used to watch him late at night, and I was supposed to be asleep on a school night, but I had the old school TV, and I had my covers over, and I would watch Three's Company, and I remember he played himself and a cousin in an episode, and he was back and forth trying to trick everybody, and it just really just showed me like physical skill and stuff like that as far as comedy. But yeah, my parents tried everything. They were like, this kid, I don't want him to get in trouble. He got friends that's on the up and up, and then he got friends that's not on the up and up. And so we got to put him into something. So shout out to my mom and dad. Education was very important to them. And keeping us active and consistently active in programs in Chicago definitely helped us out. Because, they were just like, no, y'all can't just be here idle and getting into stuff. You got to go do things. And theater was the one that stuck to me. ETA, Creative Arts Foundation on the south side of the Chi. I went there for the summer. And I went there for the summer. We had seen theater plays there a lot, but I went there for the summer, and it just changed my life. And I was like, oh, this is what I need to be doing. It was
How old were you?
I want to say maybe 12. I was about 12 years old. And then also, too, around the same time in 8th grade, we used to put on talent shows at Rosen Christian High School, right? And so I was there, and I wanted to be MC Hammer. So I played Martin Luther King, and I played MC Hammer.
Not Martin and MC Hammer.
I did, right. One scene I was Martin, and then at the end, they let me close out and do Too Legit to Quit. And when I tell you, I really thought I was Hammer. like my sister. Right. My sister's a beautician, so she cut my hair the right way. I had all the parts, and I had I want to say 15 dancers behind me. You know what I mean? And because, he came with the crew, and we went in, and people really thought I was, to this day, I got homies that was younger than me that were at the school and was like, yo, I thought you was Hammer. You went to But that's when they knew. They yo, this kid needs to be in something, my family. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
How did you get to all that auditions in that in-between time? You was doing theater. You had already kind of been playing around with professional performing. But then here comes this big audition that I don't even know, Nickelodeon was big at that time, but obviously I associate with Nickelodeon's blowing up on your entrance. So what was your understanding of Nickelodeon at that time?
So I remember when it came along, it was I think Clarissa Explains It All and Roundhouse, but all that changed the game. So how that happened was I was doing theater in downtown Chicago.
And was it always comedy, or were you doing some drama too? I'm curious.
No, it was all drama. It was drama.
Wow.
So I became literally a theater kid, and I just loved it. But then I got an agent. I remember she came to a play that I did. And I ended up getting that. Shout out to Mary at Forward Models. They're Forward Models now, but they were Aria back then. And she saw me and, took me on a lot of auditions. I would win some, lose some. Shout out to my mom because she started, driving me to all these auditions.
Oh, my gosh. I know. That driving is
that
something.
lifestyle. Right? And all that was came along. They were looking for all these, really funny comedians. And I grew up on In Living Color. I love In Living Color. I love... You know what I mean? Saturday Night Live, all of that. And so when I heard about it, I was like, I got to do it. But when I auditioned, I was in high school now. So now I'm in high school. I'm a sophomore. Yep. I had that on the brain when I went in there. I had finals. You know what I mean? So when my dad took me and we were late getting there and I was the last one. I came in there and I went blank. I never do that. I forgot my monologue, went blank. They told us to come with a monologue. Then it was like, you want to go practice it? Go outside. I said, all right, cool. Walked out, knocked over some camera cords. I was like, oh, I ruined this audition, but I did it funny. So, because they was laughing. I came back in and they was like, hey, yo, why don't you do some impersonations? And so they thought I was going to do impersonations from people on TV. No, I did impersonations from my uncles, people I saw riding the train, riding the L, all these people that I just original characters. So in that room was Coach Creedon, because that was my coach in my high school. He was just mean to everybody. Ed from Good Burger was in that room because I did a voice that was like a surfer dude that lived in Chicago. Most of all my characters, the writers just wrote to everything I did in the audition, which is super, super dope for me. You know what I mean? And I just killed the audition, and it was a week or so went by, but then I remember they called and my mom was like, hello, who is this? Oh, thank you, Jesus. And we flew out to LA and went against every funny kid in America. Like we had to fly out and battle it out.
Oh my gosh. It's so okay. So you get the show. Obviously, all of that becomes a huge hit. And you are like literally, you and Kenan are the main source of that. I mean, I watched all that for y'all. What were you thinking as that success started to hit? Because I mean, at this point, you said, and I feel the same way, like it was like a hobby. It was something you just like to do. But then now it becomes actually a career, like a real, like I'm making money. People are getting to know me. How did you process that?
Woo. Okay, so it was deep. Like certain places we couldn't go where we knew it was like a lot of young kids because that was the ones that were watching Nickelodeon. And I feel like our show brought the kids that were our age when we were on it to start watching Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? Because they had never done anything this diverse and like this. And people compare it to SNL, but I compare it to In Living Color a lot more because it just had that vibe. And of course, the hip hop guests
and it had
that
culture.
we had.
Yeah, it had so much culture to it.
Man, it has so much culture. And I was in hip hop. I was a rapper at the time, like in Chicago, me and my group. And so it was like to be on there and then bring my boys out and we perform on the first season. We hanging out with Aaliyah. We hanging out with Usher, TLC. God. These are people that I literally was listening to on my Walkman, walking down 87th Street in Chicago, just chilling. You know what I mean? And so like to now be in front of them and be able to meet them was just amazing, and it was definitely a turn. Like it was just like, man, now people screaming, knowing our names, and it was cool.
At what point did you start thinking like, did your idea and understanding of success kind of change, right? Like, obviously, there's internal satisfaction coming from stage, just knowing that you're making people laugh. And then there's like, what's going to come next after all that? And then you guys get your own show with Keenan and Kel.
Yeah. It was, here's the thing. It was moving quick. And the thing about it is that all that wasn't like a greenlit show. And so we tell people all that all the time. Brian wanted to try this out. So he was just like Brian Robbins. He was just like, yo.
I love Brian Robbins. He's so awesome.
I love Brian Robbins. Shout out to Brian Robbins. And him and Mike Tolan at the time. And they were just like, yo, we want to try this show out to see. Because Nickelodeon was scared. They ain't never done a show like this before. And so like when they put it out, it took off. Everybody loved it. And so we went back. And now it started to move fast. So, season after season, it's killing. And then they told Keenan and I, hey, why don't y'all stay during hiatus?
So wait a minute. So was it just the fact that, I mean, you didn't know Keenan before then, did you? Or did y'all met on the All That set?
We met on the All That set, and where we saw it was we did a sketch called Mavis and Clavis, like in the first season. And we had to introduce TLC. And when we did that, it was just like we were finishing each other's like jokes and sentences, and it was just working. And then, he's from Atlanta, I'm from Chicago. Our moms are like just like twins almost, you know what I mean? And so, and they still cool to this day. And they started putting us in everything together, like every sketch together, because we knew like, oh, this is crazy. And then the offset, Keenan and I just kept it going. Like the jokes.
So you guys just had immediate chemistry and became really good friends. And then the show saw that and it birthed Keenan and Kel.
It birthed Keenan and Kel. The writers, they were seeing that. And we were like, yo. And they were like, yo, this is going to be different. This is going to be like a Fresh Prince, a Martin type of show. So to be doing both shows at the same time, sketch and that, was definitely a blessing. Yeah.
I think, again, what you're talking about with like all that and just the entrance into Keenan and Kel was like, that was the first time I seen Black representation, that felt so authentic. And then not only so authentic in what was around me, but also like happy and just good family. Like you and Keenan, y'all were so damn cool, but it was never anything like crazy. Like when I look back at the show recently, I saw like Malcolm X on the wall, Martin Luther King, Tupac. Like there was so much positive representation, not only in the actions and the vibes of the character, but also just the way the aesthetic of the show looked. Like there was so much Black pride put into it. And I imagine, was that just because of that being how you and Keenan were and the producers and the writers being inspired by that?
They totally checked our vibe and how we got down. I was very like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was very militant. I represented Black culture, like all of that, and and it was beautiful to have that. And then it's shout out to, because I know every time we mention Keenan and Kel, we need to mention, the Black creator of that show, which is Kim Bass. Kim Bass created that show. And he also created Sister Sister at the same time. So you had Sister and Keenan and Kel, and if you look at Sister and Keenan and Kel, there's some parallels there because he created both shows.
Absolutely. And very much so was it black. It was like wholesome black pride. They had culture. They had swag. They was talking about the things that everybody was like, oh, this is cool. This is fly. But there was like no degradation. And I remember from me growing up, that's how I always felt. Like we all, as a black person, black people in America and all over the world, there's hardships that we have. But for me and my family, we always were such in a celebratory place. We had our moments where we acknowledged what's going on, but it was so much love and appreciation for having joy. That I always felt like, watching that show, Keenan and Kel, watching Sister, that to me felt like what my world looked like. So I always appreciated that.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, and she's a Virgo. So I'm only bringing you the best guests, the best to ever do it, like Miss Sharon, of course, and the very best sponsors, like today's sponsor, Audible, which is always one of the best parts of my day. Audible has the best selection of audiobooks on the planet, and it's the place to let your imagination run wild. Yes, even that type of wild if you want to go there. Because Audible brings stories to life with so many immersive titles. They pull out all the stops with their captivating sound design and dynamic performances, including some by yours truly. With celebrity narration, multicast productions, traditional audiobooks, and exclusive originals, Audible has you covered for any type of excitement you're looking for. And if you're looking to chill, Audible's got that too. They have guided wellness programs and the Audible Sleep Collection, exclusive audio experiences created to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and start the day right. I actually narrated a bedtime story for their sleep collection called Ojibwe, Dreamcatcher. It's the Ojibwe folktale of the first dreamcatcher. And like all of the Audible bedtime stories, it has no beginning, middle, or end. So you don't stay up to hear what happens next. I'll see you in your dreams. Plus, you can take Audible with you wherever and whenever you go because their whole selection can be found in the easy Audible app. Listen, when you're traveling, doing chores, working out, whatever y'all multitasking queens are up to. So, if you're looking for world-class storytelling and unrivaled listening experiences, check out Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. Try Audible today at audible.com/Keke. That's audible.com/Keke. Y'all know that I come from a family that likes to work hard. My parents instilled in me that working hard builds character, and I take pride in that. But y'all also know that sometimes even a Virgo queen needs to prioritize rest and relaxation. I use Airbnb all the time, whether it's with my girlfriends or for a trip with a lover. And you cannot beat the space and the locations that you can get with Airbnb. My favorite Airbnb of all time was one of those bubble houses tucked away in the Joshua Tree Desert with the most delicious outdoor jacuzzi situation. Oh, imagine the most private and posh human-sized fishbowl you've ever seen in your life. It was the perfect combination of luxury and quirkiness with the added bonus of the most amazing views. Your girl loves the finer things in life, but make no mistake, I'm also a Midwestern girl, so I love a little indoor-outdoor moment. Getting a chance to sit back and soak in my own literal bubble while surrounded by the majesty of nature. Hotels just can't keep up. Listen, y'all, I am an Airbnb fan through and through, and I've had so many memorable experiences with my friends and family, and I can't wait to share more of them with y'all this summer. Okay, so you're doing Keenan and Kel for 5 years. The show ends. And do you think to yourself, hey, should I do stand-up? Did you think to yourself, hey, should me and Keenan still keep doing the duo thing? Like, do I want to get back into more dramatic acting? What was kind of your headspace as it pertained to your craft?
Man, so I wanted to try everything. So this was at the point now we're older because a lot of people, they still think we're like kids. But at this, it was a transition during all that in Keenan and Kel where we actually became adults. You know what I mean? And so we were adults playing kids. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
at this point now it was just like, okay, let's make it happen. Let's do what we need to do. And I remember when all that was around the time of wrapping up. That's when I was doing Mystery Men. And so I was doing that with Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, superhero movie. And so around that time, for me, it was just like, okay, that's where we stepping now. We doing more films. We going out. We already did Good Burger. Good Burger did very well.
Huge.
So now we're doing Mystery Men. So that was my That was my vibe. And then also creating at that time too as well, my own projects and branching out into other avenues because I had just got to, I got to a point where it was some ups and downs within what was going on with the show and what was going on just in life. So I was just like, oh, it's time to do this transition.
So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, now wait a minute. You done
Baby,
said something. What does
Keke
that
Palmer. Let's get into it. Let's keep it 100. All right. So for me, okay, so I remember around, I want to say like towards the end of all that, right? The vibe of the show started to change a little bit. Yeah. And this is when I was taught and learned about branding, right? Branding your own content and branding, right? So I love Ed and I love my characters and all the characters that I love, but I don't own those characters, right? So it was a point where I wasn't agreeing with the writing style that started to change. Brian Robbins started to do like Varsity Blues and all these different movies, and the production team started to blow up. So they left and started doing things and other overseas and filming, and they left us with the head writer to Dan Schneider, right? So he's writing, and so me and him kind of like bump heads a little bit because of the direction of how the characters were going. Right. Yeah. And so I was just like, I don't know if I'll dig this, dig that. Right. And I remember there was one point where he was upset because I was like, OK, well, let's try it you guys' way and I'll try it my way. And the characters, and what would happen was the writers that were rooting for me, when we would try it my way, we would get the laughs. And the other way, it wasn't working. And so it was a thing of like, okay, Kel, you're stepping in now knowing producer mode. You're stepping into writing mode. But at that time, that wasn't given. And I had a passion for this show, but I'm not the producer of the show, right? And when it was Brian Robbins, it was different. It was just like, we would have those great conversations that were super awesome. And I would understand that, but when he left, it was just like, okay, so now I got to deal with this. Right. And I remember we had me and Dan had a big like argument where it was like on set. He was like, let's go over here to this room right here in this closet. He closed the door, and he just took off, just yelling all this,
How old was you at the time?
Wild stuff. At this point, I'm 18, 19.
And he's working on all that and Keenan and Kel?
Well, no, he's working on all that. Got it. Right? And so he says this, bop. And so being from the Chi at this point and being now an adult at this point, I had a decision to make. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, either we gonna fight or either I'm going to leave. And so that's what I did. I left the situation. Now, when I left, now knowing tapes cost money, cameras cost money. Where's our star? Where did he go? Mm-hmm. I walked off set. You know what I mean? So, and I called my parents. I called my dad. My dad was like, if you felt, disrespected any type of way, do I need to fly out there? Being the man that I am now, I should have let him fly out there. But I just was kind of like, no, I got it. Because what was going on also at this time was that my girlfriend at the time, who was also my ex-wife now, but at that time, we were dating and all that stuff, and she was pregnant. And so my mom was my manager at the time. So with my mom being my manager at the time, I don't want to tell my manager that I got someone pregnant because it's my mama. You know what I mean? So I'm dealing with that already. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with that.
Life is lifing.
Life is lifing. You know what I'm saying? And then he said what he had to say. And it was crazy because around that same time too, like literally like that same week, we decided to have an abortion, which was a lot of like stress on that.
And emotions,
Yeah, emotions. And then at the same time, then this is going on, and I'm not agreeing with what's going on with the show. So anyway.
And is Keenan and Kel happening simultaneously, and that's all a good situation, essentially?
Yeah, so how it goes is that we would do Keenan and Kel, and then we would do all that, and then back to Keenan and Kel, and back to all that. So it was a real, like, switch and, like, the crew and different things like that.
Right.
And so as this is going on, And I'm dealing with that. But then also, too, I have Mystery Man. Because this was the point where, and a lot of the fans would know, where Nick is on All That at this point now. And which is super talented. And so he's moving
Because
up.
Nick Cannon started out doing the audience stuff, and then he started becoming a cast member as well.
Exactly, and that's Little Bro. And so now I'm doing Mystery Man simultaneously while I'm doing All That. So I'm doing them both at the same time. And no one knows all the stuff that I'm going through because I kept it isolated, and that's the trick of the enemy, to keep you isolated and not talk about what's really going on in your heart and what's really going on. But at that time, I was the type of person where it's like, I'll handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it. Nobody knew what was really going on internally. You know what I'm saying?
Virgo,
and what, real talk. And what was really going on. So as all this stuff is happening, you know what I mean? And it is a lot of stress while this is going on. But, you know, I just kept it going, making people laugh. You know what I mean?
Did you talk to anybody that was in your world about it, like Keenan or any other active cast members, any friends that were in our industry?
Okay, so let's get to it, sis, because I love this, because it's a lot because it's people that they come up with their own thought process of things like why Keenan and Kel, and why didn't y'all talk for a while, and why is this going on? And I'm adulting at this point, like on some real. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was the
Big
first
decisions.
one. So after the abortion, I decide, okay, and we knuckleheads, we get pregnant again, right? And so we do that. So then I go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to just get married.
We was like, damn, when did he turn so grown? I remember thinking that. I was like, why is he so grown? We kids.
And so no one could relate at that point. They were still kids. I had no one to have a conversation with, to relate to in my cast.
Period.
That's really what was really going on. Now, you know, looking back, it's like, should have had it like a little bit more planned out, but you also are adulting within the limelight and figuring it out on your own within Hollywood, Hollywood, trying to figure out on your own and having real grown folk situations.
And then even when I was talking to Kenan, it was really cool because he was like, obviously whenever you're in a duo, everybody has a favorite. And Kenan was even saying like, man, like everybody was like, what's Kel doing with Kenan? You know, Kel, he's going to be da-da-da, this, that, and third. It was all this. Obviously, there's so much hype that was happening in the moment, but also so much hype for your future because everybody was just always like, Kel Mitchell, Kel Mitchell, Kel Mitchell. Yeah. How did that play into the pressure that you felt after, you know, growing up and leaving the Nickelodeon world behind? How did you manage all the expectations people had for you?
It was deep. Like, even when I hear him say that now, and, you know, and I hear him say that, like I even on his podcast, I remember he's saying that when he got the show Kenan, he was excited because he felt like Keenan and Kel was my show. Yeah. And I literally was like, I was kind of, when I first heard it, I was kind of hurt by it because I was just like, no, bro, like I never thought of it in that way. You know what I mean? I've always thought it was both of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even when there was even a part, like when we were doing Keenan and Kel and the fans were like, the producers came up and they were like, hey, yo, you know, they're screaming. The girls are screaming when they say your name because, you know, we would come out Keenan, Kel.
Of course,
they would be screaming. And so they was like, can we do something? You know, y'all do something together. So they all scream at the same time. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I created this like, hey, man, why don't we rap together? Like, you know, right when the curtains open and we just come out, we rap together and do our stuff. I'll write it for you. And all these different things that we were doing. Because I never looked at it like, oh, this is my show. I'm like, this is us together. Yeah. And I was really like that anyway, with a lot of like just friendships and things like that. But then, you know, being in this business, you know what I mean? Yeah. You start to discover that, you know, some friends and things get lost, and you know, and so I ended up being the type of person where it was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do me. And that's a real, like you said, a Virgo thing. Yeah. But then it was a thing of when I was like getting that popularity, it was even some things that happened with other cast members that you don't that weren't on the show anymore, that were trying to sabotage me on certain type of things. And it was wild.
Side note, when you think about that in your experience, what was you thinking when Quiet on Set happened? I mean, I imagine you were like, long time coming, I guess. I mean, even just from the hierarchy and just the political landscape of being in this business and being a kid.
So when that came out, I have to have people understand, because even Keenan spoke on this and we both spoke on this, is that wasn't our experience, what they were documenting. Okay, so that was our experience. Because we were the OGs of Nickelodeon. So to go back to what I was talking about, that change of, remember when I said how there was a shift that was happening within Nickelodeon. So now that I look back, the Lord protected me, even though I was going through some, craziness in my life at that time. What was going on was that I saw the shift that was going on because I fought it, as far as like the character, the writing, it was getting weird. But I was just like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to renew because I don't want to do this anyway, right? Yeah. And so there's apart from 94 to 99, that's us, 94 to 99. Then it was not, no Nickelodeon, all that stuff like that. Keenan and Kel was going, all that was going, right? Then there was 2005 to like, I want to say 2009. And that's what they're talking about within that. They're talking about that era. You know what I mean? And in that area, I wasn't even involved on that show at all around that time. Yeah. And so it's not my experience. But for the ones that are coming forward and talking about their experience, that's experience. Is good to talk about it and get it out. Yeah. But that definitely wasn't our experience. My experience was more from a creative standpoint, and then what I was going through personally within life choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can really relate to, like, I was at Nickelodeon at that time, but I never worked with Dan Schneider, and I didn't have that experience. But I did have the experience that you're talking about having, where I think it's what's the word? Relatable across the board to any child entertainer, or even a kid that's doing well in sports, where you just feel like you have all of this pressure and everybody looking at you and everybody has all these expectations and you really have no choice but to succeed. But also there's no blueprint. There is no like landscape that you can actually like look to do what it is you're doing. And I was talking to my mom earlier where it was this moment where she asked me, where I'm trying to figure out how to evolve my brand. Like, okay, I'm a kid. I'm in the kid world. Everybody know me as a kid. How the hell do I move into this new, path in the limelight or whatever you want to call it as an adult? And I got to start from the bottom. I got to redo the whole thing all over again. When that moment was happening for you, did you say, okay, I want to take a break and I want to focus on my family? Or did you kind of keep just going in the paint?
I was going in the paint. I started to now, at this point, I've been in the game for a while, you know what I mean, already. And then I'm already having my own personal stuff, all these different things going on. And so for me, now being the man I am now, it was all character development.
How did you develop and maybe it came in just in the practice of performing, but you're one of the best improvisers that I've ever seen. I mean, I heard that on all that, they would be like, Kel does something crazy. Kel does something physical. Like, there would literally be no actual direction. It would just be Kel goes off. And then you would essentially create the whole moment for them. So how did you start being able to do that?
You know what? I would study. Like, I would study a lot. Like, I would look at...
Come on, Virgo.
I would look at Martin. You know what I mean? If you look at anything that I do, you will see a lot of Martin. You will see a lot of Eddie. You'll see a lot of John Ritter. You'll see Dean Martin.
That makes me so happy.
You'll see all these. Jim Carrey. You would definitely see him in there too. Tommy Davidson, Jamie Foxx, like all these different people.
Tommy.
That it's just a mixture of people. And shout out to the comedic world. I know, there's a lot of stuff, but a lot of brothers gave me a lot of great advice. You know what I'm saying? And so I really dig that. Like, even Jamie, when meeting Jamie told me, he was just like, hey, stay with them, stay with this family entertainment, Kel. And he told me that on the Ray Charles set. And he said, stay with that family entertainment. And I said, why? Because they're going to grow up with you.
Yes.
And I said, oh. And he said, when they grow up, they're going to become adults. And then now you doing adult content and you can still do family content because now they're going to introduce it. And I'm like, yo, was he ever right? You know what I'm saying? Within that process. And I was able to transition and do these different things that I've been doing and let go of that comparison. Never let anybody drag you into anger, because that's what would happen, because me and Kenan got compared a lot. But then we had people that were trying to break us up, be in our ear and say, well, Kel said this, Kenan said this, Kel said this. And I remember we had a long conversation. We said, we're never going to let anybody do that. Because at the end of the day, bump the television series and what we got going on, what I got going on, what you got going on. We were put together in this, but we are still friends. within this, and you meet everybody for a reason, and we told each other we would never ever do that again. Like we talk, like if anything happens, like even it's funny, like even like it'll be a little joke or something that goes on. Like I remember when they did a joke about me on SNL, he hit me up immediately like, "Hey yo, Kel, this gonna be this thing. I just want you to know." I was like, "Man, I ain't tripping," but he was like, "No, but remember what we talked about." I was like, "Oh yeah, you right, facts." I was like, "Go do your thing, baby, go do your thing."
That is hilarious. Now, did you ever have any interest being on SNL or being in another sketch type show?
Oh yeah, I remember when SNL was auditioning, and I got an opportunity to do that. And at the time, I was going through some things, through my relationship, I was going through some things, right? So I remember, like, I get there to the audition, fly out to New York. They wanted stand up. Right. And so it was in a stand-up club. And, you thinking Saturday Night Live, you're thinking like all these different, type of
Sketches.
characters. Yeah. And so I came from the sketch world. So I went up there and I'm sketching. I mean, I'm sketching.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm doing all this stuff. I did something about like Michael Jackson, if he was allergic to trees. And that's how he came up with the ooh, and did all of this. And so I'm doing that. I did What If DMX was in Toy Story and he was Buzz? Like it's like all this stuff. And they laughing.
That's super good.
They laughing, but it's like I'm hitting them with characters like bah, 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 bah. And I'm also a little faded at the time too. So I'm doing all of this. And I remember I'm on stage and I did Michael Jackson and I hit the table. Like, they got these little tables at the, stand-up clubs. And I like did a little move. I spin, but I hit the table and the table fell over. Drink flew in the air. So I'm like, okay, well, this didn't go well, this audition. But I was fine with it because there's so many people that have auditioned for SNL and I was fine with it. And I was excited for my brother. But here's what happened. When my brother got on the show, everybody started instantly comparison because it's like, oh, we need Kel on SNL. We want him to be on SNL. It gotta be a beef. And I'm just going to the next thing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go, do this animation, Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I'm gonna do all these other movies, TV shows. I'm gonna just do other things. But it was always this comparison with the both of us, and the whole time I was rooting for him. And even with Kenan, he thought that too, because I was occupied with family, which he didn't have at the time. And so he didn't understand what I was going through. And so I remember when we talked, he did have some frustration because he was just like, well, you didn't call me to tell me congratulations on SNL.
And I think he also had the same thing that you were going through on the other end, where people were also being like, why you and not Kel?
Exactly.
He was also experiencing that. So it's like his excitement of, boom, I made it to SNL was in a lot of ways tempered with, well, what about Kel? Which I imagine was its own thing as well. It's so interesting how, both of y'all having to deal with whatever, again, outside perceptions and just the experience of being a great comic duo.
I compare us to New Edition. Not to cut you off, but I compare us to New Edition, where it's like people grew up with us, so they feel like they have an opinion about what happened, and when we all went through some real stuff that didn't nobody know what was going on, both of us, and so and that's the thing. And then as friends, you got to have them real talks, and them real talks. You know what I mean? And so like when we decided,
for sure.
So when we really did that as men. It was a lot of, yo, what? That's what's going on? What? That's what's happening with you? What? Yeah. And I think that was beautiful. And, and now our friendship as men, and us being able to help and uplift one another just through conversation, not career. You know what I mean? And empower one another is beautiful to me. Because I look at his spirit. Are you okay? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. You know
and
how
was it doing the new Good Burger together? I mean, y'all probably felt like y'all were living in a dream. Because like, damn, like this is like nostalgia on 10.
Well, for me, because it went so quickly, a lot of people don't realize that when we brought all that back in 2019. So when we brought all that back, it was a whole set of new kids, like 7 kids, and Keenan and I both executive produced that one, right? And so I remember when that went on, the writers and they were like, yo, I know you producing this, but would you want to get like back in the outfits? Can you do Ed? Can you do Coach Cretan? And I'm like, all right, let's go. Thank God I was working out, and this is what I'm saying. Stay consistent with what you're doing.
Okay.
And I came with. I said, okay, these kids, they babies. Some of them weren't even born when the show was on, but I'm about to snap. And so I'm doing Ed already in 2019. In my early 40s. You know what I'm saying? So I'm already doing it and killing. And people were like, yo, what? And it was amazing to have all these new musical acts come on and do all that stuff. And so when Good Burger 2 came along, it was just a good transition. We were already doing it, and we had been working on it for a while. Like, we have all talked about it. It just the story needed to be right. And that was what it was for us. And we wanted to make sure, we didn't look too old. It did also too, we didn't, I wanted Ed to have that essence of who he was in the 90s. And we did good. Like, I feel like it really did good. And it was a family. Like, it was like
You did great. I watched it with my whole family, with my nieces and my nephews, who, like you said, they're like Gen Alpha. So they was definitely not born, but literally felt the exact same way that I did when I grew up watching y'all, and I seen you for the first time. And so that was a really cool thing to share with them. So, oh my gosh, Kel, I'm so happy that I got to go down memory lane with you, but also catch up with you and what you're doing today, and directing and producing and performing and writing and just all this amazing stuff. But before I let you go, I want to play a little game real quick. Are you down?
Let's go.
Okay. This game is called Here For It or Nah. I'll name something, and you have to just, let me know if you here for it or nah.
Okay. I gotta say I'm here for it or no. Okay. Got it.
Yep, exactly. Here for it or nah.
All right.
Okay. And all that reunion with the original cast. Here for it or not?
We've done a bunch of those. You know what I mean? So I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Period.
Yeah. Period.
Putting your kids in the entertainment industry. Here for it or not?
Ooh. Big conversation. Okay. Conversation. You gotta love it. It gotta be a passion because you got a dad that's in it. So, yeah. I don't know. Is it a middle ground? Can we go?
Maybe.
Based on them, because I support my kids in all that they do. So I got to see that passion in them, that they really love it. And if you really love it and this is what God is telling you to do, then who am I to step in front of that? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Period. Therapy, here for it or not?
Oh, here for it. Therapy and Jesus. I say that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Keenan and Kel reboot. Here for it or not?
Here for it. And we killed it on SNL. You already know how. Keke's mine. Come on. You killed that, man. So yeah, I'm here for it. And us doing it in a dramatic way would be dope too. So
oh my gosh. That I am definitely here for, because Kel, I love you. I do.
Same.
Ooh.
Love you.
Thank
back.
you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Peace.
I feel like this conversation unlocked so many memories I forgot about. Kel was like such a key character in so many of our childhoods. And I'm just glad that he's still out here killing it. Who loves orange soda? I love orange soda. I do. Ooh. More on this next time, because it's your girl.
Baby, this is Keke.